Hello, everybody. It is Dee and Renee, and we are doing holiday baking this week. I know that's near and dear to everybody's heart, and I think that people get really kind of discouraged around this time of year when they don't get to do the traditional things that they like to do. So Dee is always wonderful about trying to recreate all of that and give you options for baking and holiday menus. And if you haven't looked at our holiday menus, we did Thanksgiving way back in the end of September, so we'll have to bring those back up again. So Dee, how is it going? Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Checking in so our clinic is in Redcliffe, Alberta, just outside of Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. It is about -10 today. It is valiantly trying to snow on us right now. So it snowed all morning. So we are now welcoming winter. So you might as well get on with the festivities and the holiday baking and decorating and so on and so forth.
Yeah, right. We're just like, what is it, 2 weeks away? Tomorrow will be 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. So that's when, yeah, it gets all crazy and people get all crazy, and it's really important to stay focused on you, because really this is only about 5 or 6 weeks out of the year, and there's really only two dates. There's Christmas and Thanksgiving. So don't get yourself off track just because of, oh my gosh, it's the holiday season. Stay focused. Those are my words anyway.
Yes.
All right, Dee. So I'm going to bring this up here with us, and I'm going to let Dee tell you what this is.
So this is a picture of dried rhubarb and dried chayote. And I love both of those ingredients in their whole, in their fresh entity, but I also love them dried or semi-dried. And I love both of those ingredients whole in their fresh entity, but I also love them dried. Got some feedback there. Okay. They are a wonderful addition to, of course, traditional baking, puddings, cereals, barks, a really fun ingredient. And so I had some requests to replicate some traditional baking, and they had ingredients such as currants, raisins, some had nuts, some had seeds. And so to a certain extent, we have, our sweet and spicy trail mix that could, substitute seeds. For raisin and currants, it's a little bit tougher because those are a dried fruit. But I thought, what the heck, let's do some baking with some dried rhubarb and chayote instead. And it's a lot of fun. And I love the super tart taste of rhubarb. And the sweetness of the chayote comes out when you dry it as well. And so the really neat thing about drying things such as rhubarb and chayote is it's so simple. You slice it, you place it on parchment paper on a baking sheet into your oven at the lowest temp, and you can choose the doneness of dryness that you like. So I like a little bit of chew left in them. I don't want them to be paper dry. And you know what? If you dry them out a little too much, you can simply spray some water on them to rehydrate them a little bit. So it's really forgiving ingredient and a lot of different things that you can do with it. So while if you're having an at-home day, you can pop it in the oven while you're doing other cooking, cleaning, household chores, and just check on them, every hour after a couple of hours. Or another great way is you can place them in the oven when you go to bed at night. And those might dry out a little bit more for you, but your oven on the lowest temp while you sleep for 6 to 8 hours, and then they're done in the morning for you.
So it's just like your own hydrator. Yes. Or dehydrator.
Yeah, your dehydrator. And so really simple way to do it, and you do not need any fancy equipment. And then my only other tip is that measure your veggies before you dehydrate them. So if you start with 1 cup of rhubarb, when it's dehydrated, it's still 1 cup of rhubarb. So even if it dehydrates down to half a cup, you're treating that as a cup in your food values. So that's what you need to know about that. So just because it's less amount, it doesn't count for less. So yeah,
That's a really good point. Very good point. So if you are coming onto this video, please say hello. And most of all, do us a couple of favors. The way that we grow our audience is by sharing and by getting the organic reach of Facebook. So in order to do that, hit the like and heart button as many times as you can. Whenever you see a recipe that you really love, push the heart button. And if you can share it out, that's what creates a bigger and bigger audience for us. So we really appreciate that. But tell us where you're from. Tell us anything that you really love that you can't seem to recreate, and Dee will do her best to do that. And I know our ending dessert today is one of Debbie Parsons' requests. So that sounds, everything here sounds delicious. All right, so Dee sent me this amazing picture of this whole tray. And look, doesn't this look like something you would have at a Christmas party? Tell us about this, Dee.
So that's all of this week's recipes on one tray. And I wanted to present it on a tray for just a few reasons. So you could actually do some baking for yourself for the entire week, or you could take that to a Christmas party, a Christmas gathering, office party, work party, and work it into your holiday menu plan. We can talk a lot about preparing and planning. And as Renee mentioned before, you know, Thanksgiving is one day. Christmas celebrations might be 1 to 2 days. But often, this is the time of year when people's focus and their minds start to stray because they get distracted by all the packaging and the glitter and and it's, you know, fancy packaging. And it's one thing, I don't want to sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer, but there's, you know, like Halloween annoys me because it's just fancy packaging of the same garbage, because it's garbage, but it entices people because it looks fun, it looks exciting. And so it's not that we don't want you to have fun and we don't want you to be excited, but we just want to help you stay the course, because that fun and exciting stuff, it is going to always be there. And so we just want to give you as many tools to stay on track and be mindful while you're reaching your goals. And so that fun stuff is still there. But the other thing is, in the land of maintenance, there is so many fantabulous keto-friendly desserts and recipes and ingredients. Like there's no reason why you can't enjoy treats that are healthified. And so this is what I'm presenting to you today. You can do phase one. You can have something that tastes a little bit more like a treat, still has some protein in there to help you stay on track, feel full, keep those muscles supported. I think it's really important. I don't want anybody to feel deprived. And you know, some folks, they're super strong. They don't need alternatives. They don't need any suggestions. They're like, no, I won't miss it. I'm great. But not everybody's brain works that way. And so we just want to make sure that we can reach out to those that need it. And if you don't, that's awesome. It's we're all different. So
that's right. Yeah, and also feeling like you're part of whatever event or festivity that you are going to. All right, so let's talk about all these goodies.
So that is a pumpkin spice latte loaf. So it's done with the new pumpkin spice latte. There is in that loaf also the plain pancake. So plain pancake is one of my most favorite IP baking products, and it's because it's flour. It acts like our flour. It has the bicarbonate built right into it to help for a little bit of raising. And the new pumpkin spice latte has amazing flavor in it. So you don't have to add a lot or do a lot or add a lot of sweetener to things to get good flavor. And so in this particular loaf, we gain moisture from grated rutabaga, which is really neat. So most of you know I went on a little bit of a rutabaga puree kick to make my pumpkin pie. And I had a few messages about, well, why didn't you just use pudding? And well, because pudding pie is pudding pie, I wanted real pumpkin pie. So I was looking for a squash substitute, not a pudding substitute. But once I started baking with that rutabaga, it's worked every time for me. And so I was quite excited about that. So the lovely moisture in this pumpkin loaf actually comes from grated rutabaga. So I was a little bit excited about that because it lets the pumpkin latte flavor through. Now, in this particular picture, it is a completely unglazed, unsweetened, uniced product. So you could add, whatever your heart's desire to the top of this loaf, whether it is brushing it with some ideal maple syrup. Maybe you would like some caramel dip or chocolate dip, something like that. Maybe you'd like to whip, an IP icing up. Any of those things would work, but that is, and I apologize, you see it cut on the tray, but I wish I would have cut it up and showed you just how awesome it looks firm, but it's moist all in the same time. It just turned out just like a traditional loaf or cake would. So yeah.
Is that what this picture is, Dee?
No, that is the chocolatey caramel loaf. So that one on the tray. I know. I got ahead of myself. I forgot to take some picture.
Oh, I just had it in my mind that this was it was the same thing. Okay, so
on the holiday tray, it looks like it's in wedges. It looks like they're in wedges. So, but again, too, a great one to make ahead when you're on the go, because this one on its own, it would be a great breakfast bread. You could even have it as a little bit of a sweet bread at lunchtime. Like you're not limited just to treats. You can use it in other ways. So, and it'll stay, baking. You keep it in your fridge sealed, it will last for days. So if you have a little bit of time one night or evening or afternoon, you can knock off some baking recipes pretty fast and have them ready to go.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So Cynthia says, what kind of pan did you bake that in?
Good question. So I have a 6-inch pie pan. And they're relatively, and you're going to have to forgive me because this one's dirty, but I'll actually show it to you. Can you see this one?
Okay, so it's it's like ceramic.
Crumbs. There's the crumbs from the last
recipe. You share that at work?
Yeah. So I brought this to work today. Now this one actually, I'm not promoting any store. But this is this little ceramic 6-inch pie plate. I love it because I love the 6-inch interior diameter, and it's almost 2 inches high. So it's perfect for, you do single pack or double pack baking in it. So if you're going to double or triple recipes, you can use traditional size pans. But I just find picking up these smaller sized ones are really, really easy. Yeah, like $6 in Walmart, I think, Cynthia. So that's where I picked up this one. If any of you have potters in your life, though, I broke them all and I need to get some more. But I actually had a lady make me custom pottery ones in the same size, because I've been doing IP baking since 2011, and so this size is near and dear to my heart, because it is so easy. And the really neat thing about it is loaf pan or cake pan, like any of these recipes that you see, if it makes a cake, it will make a loaf. If it makes a loaf, it will make a cookie, and so on and so forth. So sometimes just manipulating the presentation is also eye-pleasing. Or if you know there's a loaf recipe that you just love and you're doing like a Christmas cookie exchange, it will make a drop cookie as well. Things like that. So if you need any help there too, don't be scared to holler, and we can give you little ideas how to tweak a recipe to make it work. So
very nice. Well, if you are logging on right now and you are watching, tell us where you're from, hit the share button and hit the like button and love button for every recipe that inspires you. All right, so Cynthia, a different Cynthia says, looks wonderful. I make the rutabaga pie once a week and that looks Great. So awesome. Lots of recipes being followed. Deb wants to know, will silicone pans work?
Absolutely. And the nice thing about those is you don't have to worry about parchment paper lining, any kind of nonstick spraying. I know a lot of people they really frown upon nonstick spraying. You know, spray if you're in a pinch, it's going to work. So it's not the best option, but silicone pans are great. So if you have one, and the really neat thing about them is they usually turn inside out for really easy cleaning. You can just
Exactly.
they don't break, they don't warp, and so you bet silicone works great.
And there's some really cute little pans. Actually, my girlfriend Lori sent them to me, and she was like, "You should show these to Dee. They're so cute." Maybe I can pull a picture up later. Okay, so let's move on to, what is this called again?
So that's just a chocolatey caramel mug cake loaf, and this time in the loaf, there is a half a cup of jicama in the recipe, and I actually did use some caramel extract, totally optional, but I have some real Watkins caramel extract, so little goes a long way for flavor, and then it has 1 tablespoon of the caramel dip into it, and that's the jicama and the caramel dip gives us a lot of moisture in that caramel mug cake. So I have to tell you, if you are a fan of the chocolatey caramel mug cake, there is nothing that I have made with that feller that does not work. It just works. It just works. My favorite cookie of all time is a chayote cookie that I have made with that mug cake, and it never fails. It's always moist. It always tastes good. It tastes like a real cookie. You know, you can fool anybody with that product. They won't know that they're eating a protein cookie. Most people don't realize that I have buried vegetables into that cookie as well. It's my favorite thing to do now. So protein powder is dry. Generally, it's dry, and we're getting the moisture from vegetables versus butter, oil, tons of egg. Lots of my recipes do contain a little bit of egg. If you can't have egg or you need a substitute, we can help you out there too. I don't have egg allergies, and eggs are the perfect food and bioavailability. So I'm really not shy in my own home to use them. But if you need some help there, just shout out and we can help you with that as well. Little side note on when we were just talking about silicone baking dishes, I think everybody needs to have a set of spatulas that are silicone. And the reason why, big ones and small ones, is because when you're doing single batches of IP baking, your batches aren't big. And so a lovely little small silicone spatula, they get into everywhere and they get all the goodness into your pan, so you're not leaving a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of batter in any of your dishes. So that's I don't have
afford to leave any extras.
You have to. I know I'll get graphics where some people are like showing me licking the dishes, but those are really great working tools. So whether you are, your local department stores or Amazon or wherever you order them from, I don't have a favorite brand. I just know that I have these mini silicone spatulas, and they're my favorite tool in the kitchen. I actually keep them in a little jar right on my counter because I grab them so often.
Oh, that's awesome. So Deb asks, can you air fry these recipes?
You probably can. There is probably a way. I'm going to put that one back on you. Give it a go. So
yeah, you tell us. So you guys, I just put a poll up. So there's a poll button, and it's different. I think it's purple on your desktop, and on your mobile, it's like a little round circle that's right at the end of the comments area. Will you let us know your thoughts on whether you prefer cakes, cookies, or breads? So I just thought we would do a fun little poll and see what you guys are doing. All right, Dee, we gotta move it along here.
One quick note about the air frying bit. I know that any of these recipes that I bake in an oven, I can bake in a crock pot. I learned that from not having a stove for 5 months. So I do have to be really honest with you, though. I'm not a fan of air fryers. I actually sold mine, and maybe it wasn't the right model or the right, the right size, so on and so forth. I found mine to be more of an inconvenience and a pain in the butt to clean and so on and so forth that I actually sold it. However, since then I have seen better ones come on the market. So, but I currently don't have an air fryer. So if you want to try it,
Let us
know if it works, because that would be awesome. So another option. So yeah, I do know crock pot works just like an oven. So that's cool.
All right. So what do we got here, Dee?
So I have been making simple bark at Christmas for a long time because I like it on a cookie tray. And I have been really modest with the ingredients because I'm always thinking of the phase one dieter in mind. So if I make a Rice Krispie bark, I'm only borrowing, a tablespoon or two of that cereal so the dieter can have the cereal for breakfast and then have the bark later in the day. But for this one, I went all out. And this picture has a full pack of sweet and spicy trail mix with your raspberry chocolate temptation bar. And it has dried chayote in it, which is amazing in it because it does give you the real fruit essence in there. It's chewy, it pulls apart, it's lovely. And then there is also your 1 ounce of daily milk allowance in this bark. And that is just simply to make the bark spread a little bit further. So one thing that we're going to stress right now, and I know it's in another recipe that we're going to show here, the Chocolatey Temptation Raspberry Bar from Ideal Protein. You are allowed to have that bar 1 time per week, 1 time only. You must eat it in the same day. You can't have a tiny little piece of it every day all week on top of the rest of your food. And it replaces your restricted item for that day. If you have any questions about that, please ask because we need all coaches and dieters to be on the same page on the Raspberry Chocolate Temptation Bar. If you need the actual graphic from the Ideal Protein clinic manual right from head office, we can get you that for any coaches that are confused about how that protocol is used. I know some clinics don't carry it or offer it to their dieters just because of the confusion that this bar does cause. However, I love this bar. I love this bar for an indulgence. It teaches you to have a treat within reason, and therefore I love using it. So if there is a special occasion, a birthday, a celebration, maybe just cravings, due to hormonal cycles, whatever it be, if you need a tool in your tool chest, I love this guy. Not only that, I'm a huge dark chocolate fan, and it looks smashing on cookie and holiday trays. So to me, it's a winner all the way around. So that's my schmeal on bark.
This is actually 2 different Ideal Protein products. So you've got your sweet and spicy trail mix, and you have your raspberry temptation bar.
Yeah. So I'm actually sampling it out today to clients, and so I explain both products to them, and also explain that this is a 1 time a week deal, and I would never more than once a week offer those 2 products combined also, because your sweet and spicy trail mix also has a little bit of extra fat. And that's what the raspberry chocolate temptation bar has also. It's a little bit of extra fat in there, in that bar. And that's why it's a restricted item, because if we're eating too much fat, we're not going to burn the fat off our butt. It is that simple. That is how this works. There is also your daily allowance of 1 ounce of milk in there. And I do want to tell you this too. You can't use skim milk, you use regular milk. And what that is that it is the milk fat that holds that chocolate together. And you also have to heat your milk in the recipe. If you try to stir in cold milk into hot melted chocolate, it will shock the chocolate. And what that means, it's going to make it hard and lumpy and yucky. And it's going to wreck the smoothness of it. So you have to keep your milk warm when you add it to the chocolate.
Okay, well, those are good tips. All right, so if you're coming on here and you want these recipes, type in the word recipe. If you're live, they're going to come to you later this afternoon, and it'll come in your Facebook Messenger. So if you're watching in the replay, they'll automatically be sent through your Facebook Messenger. All righty, Dee, look at, what is this?
So again, on the top there, that is your raspberry temptation bar. It's done as an icing, and it has the dried rhubarb in the icing. And again, it uses that 1 ounce of milk for your day in there. So reserve that for this guy. And the base is the chocolate drink mix made into a cake, and it also has the dried rhubarb in the bottom. So it is a sweet and tart cake, and it's awesome. It is awesome. The icing does not get hard. It stays nice and smooth and glossy. Well, not I didn't smooth it. I like the ridges in it, but it stays nice and soft. It has excellent flavor. The dark chocolate mixed within the rhubarb, just it's a really nice sensation for a square. And if you're not a huge chocolate fan, you could do a white cake base. You can change it up, but I just did do the chocolate on chocolate because that's just what I felt like. So that you can do adaptations of the recipe. And then, your chocolate drink mix is just a regular everyday product as well. I also I should have mentioned in the comments, the really neat thing. So I did the base of that square in an 8x4 pan. And the reason why is so that, like, if you look at a standard tape measure, so that is 8, and that is 4. So 8x4, you cut that in half and you get 4 massive pieces of cake, or 6, 2-inch squares twice in the day. So if you know that you're going to a holiday party and you want to be picking off a tray or eating something, it makes a lot of treat, and you actually can eat that you have to actually eat that entire thing in a day, because that is a rule on that raspberry temptation bar. It has to be consumed in a day. So whether it's half of it for an after lunch treat and another half for the evening or supper time, when you know that you're going to be faced with those temptations, it's a great tool to use for that. And it's a very generous amount as well. So it's not like you're only getting a bite of a treat. You're actually getting a treat.
Yeah. Yay. Oh, well, that looks delish. All right. So, last but not least.
So this is a request from Debbie Parsons. And Debbie had sent me her mom's Christmas carrot pudding. And when I read the recipe right away, it intrigued me right off the go, because there actually wasn't a lot of ingredients in it, and the word pudding was used in it. So I'm like, how is this pudding? Anyway, long story short, the baking method is really neat. And I have to tell you, I'm going to do a little bit more research on this. So once your batter is made, you put it in your baking pan, and then you place that pan in a roaster, and then you fill the roaster with water up to 2/3 level of your cake pan inside. And you bake it on a low heat. You're going to use the heat from the water to gently bake this pudding cake. I'm going to call it pudding cake because it comes out more like a really lovely pudding cake. And it just worked so awesome. And when it came out of the oven, the smells right away were, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it smelled so good. And so, of course, I actually have never had Christmas pudding cake. And so I did message Debbie and to say, like, I don't know if it's going to taste anything like your pudding Christmas carrot cake is supposed to. However, this tastes really good, so I'm going to keep it anyway. So,
yeah, well, it looks to me almost like a bread pudding-ish cake. So yeah, it looks delish.
So the really neat thing about this one is that, again, it uses a plain pancake as flour. You could use a vanilla drink mix, or you could use the new pumpkin spice latte, because the pumpkin spice are also in, like, the cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon are in the recipe. And it uses, the traditional recipe calls for carrots and potatoes grated. So I used jicama and rutabaga instead. You could probably use jicama and turnip, no problem. And I used the sugar-free maple syrup from Ideal Protein, and just your oil. So this one I did use 4 teaspoons of oil because I couldn't use butter. So although this recipe is unrestricted, you would either share it with somebody else on protocol because it's 2 unrestricted packs, but it does use your daily allowance of oil twice. So you could have half one day, the other half another day, or share it with somebody else on or off protocol. So the really great thing about this recipe, there is also the dried chayote and the dried rhubarb in there. So that is our raisins and currants. We've got some dried fruit in there. They hydrate beautifully as they bake and just offer some fantastic texture in there. And then for a topping, so the traditional glaze is basically just sugar and butter. And so I actually whipped a quarter cup of the Ideal Protein maple syrup with the mix master, added a little bit of extra cinnamon, and just poured it over top. And the air infused syrup gets everywhere and just kind of melted all into the top of the pudding without using a ton of extra sweetener. And it just turned out really good. So I actually had that for lunch today. I was so excited when I tasted it because I would have never made a recipe like this unless Debbie would have requested, hey, can you try to do a phase one version? So thanks, Debbie. It was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you do too.
Well, that's spectacular. So I don't know, did anybody see the poll? It's a new thing on the program, so I wanted to use it, but I don't even see where I can come up with with the with the answers. So that's kind of crazy. So if anybody saw the poll and responded to it, say poll. All right. So one thing that Deb asked is, do these recipes freeze well?
So I can't speak to the pudding yet. Because I haven't froze it yet. I would think that for not long-term freezing, like I wouldn't leave it in your freezer for months. The rest of them you can freeze. You're going to want to wrap them and then put them in an airtight container. They will thaw nice because of the vegetable content in them, so it helps to keep the moisture so they don't dry out. But you just want to freeze and wrap them so ice crystals don't form right on your breads or your cakes or your squares, so that they don't get mushy when you rethaw them. So they do work. I just wouldn't plan on leaving them in the freezer longer than 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 weeks sounds like a long time. All right. So, Dee, do you have any other tips for holiday baking?
Well, I have absolutely tons and tons of baking we can do that we can feature. So really let me know if you want to see, if it's something that you want to see more of, if you'd like more ideas, whether you're going to, it's for yourself or for friends or offices or, everything on that tray, your coworkers could eat too. And they wouldn't even know what half of it, that it's called food. At this time of the year, whether you're on phase 1, 2, 3, or in maintenance, I think we really need to talk about where our mental headspace and our mental games are. If you can't stay on phase 1, that's okay. But we don't want you to beat yourself up about those kind of things. But we also want to try to encourage you not to just throw in the towel and do as much damage as you can do over the next 6 to 8 weeks. So if it needs to be maintenance with controlled indulgences or occasions, that's okay. Let us help you do that, because there's nothing worse than rolling around to the new year and then having to face, an actual gain because you decided that you just couldn't do it. And that's okay. It's one thing that we talk about a lot. It's okay if now is not the right time for phase 1, but there are a lot of other strategies and methods that we can use. And we still need to talk about a whole lot why we get to the I don't care part of our journey and then feel guilty about not caring, or then being angry about having setbacks that were self-inflicted. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep helping each other work through these, get through them. It's everybody can have a bad day. It's a really simple thing to do. It's what we do with that bad day, right? So whether we turn it around and keep going, or even learning about why we make some of the choices that we do. So I know there's tons of coaches out there watching. I know there's tons of clients out there watching, and so any strategies, any book reading, today I was talking to a client about evening soak baths, and when you draw toxins out and then loofah your body and then do nice circulations, things like that. You know what? It's a strategy, to not do mindless eating at night. Let's talk about them. Let's help each other. And this is, you know what, this is a season. There's so many wonderful things. There's so many pay it forwards things. There's so much volunteering you can do. If you have some time available in evenings, or just there's really great things out there at this season that you can do for your mental health, not only just your physical health. So I'd really like to encourage everybody to look into that. One of the really cool things that our local food bank is doing right now is it's a project called Overflow the Shelves, and it is a statistic about how many women don't have access to their sanitary monthly needs. And so right now on our local Facebook, we've got women challenging other women all over the place. I bought my 2 packs, now I challenge all you guys. So be creative, guys. Go out there and start something in your own community, in your own clinics. Let's put our focus on our health, but just in the helping season as well. So
I love all those thoughts. And if you need a support group, I just opened up a new group called Maintain Don't Gain during the holidays. And you can find it on my Facebook, and I'll put a link on here also, where you can, we'll be doing strategies for the holidays. It starts on November 19, right before Thanksgiving, and it ends on January 6th. So I'll be doing video coaching. We'll be doing challenges in there, and of course we'll be sharing lots of recipes and things that Dee does. So please join me over there and look for the link in the comments section. And this is it's really a group for clients. It's not a coaching group. So if you're a client, please join us. All right. So Dee, as always, thank you so much. I noticed down here, Julie says, yes, please, more. So maybe we'll do another week of holiday baking. Always let us know what your favorite recipes are, and Dee will do her best to recreate them. So lots of good strategies, you guys, great things to have, and look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye.